67 million years ago, Western North America was home to one of the largest land predators ever discovered. Its scientific name was Tyrannosaurus rex. An adult could grow more than 12 meters long and weigh around 8 or 9 metric tons. Its skull was longer than the body of an average person. Its jaws contained thick, serrated teeth capable of puncturing flesh and breaking bone. But Tyrannosaurus rex was more than a large animal with a powerful bite. It had highly developed senses, strong legs, a carefully balanced body, and a complex growth history. Fossils show that it hunted living animals, consumed carcasses, fought with members of its own species, and sometimes survived serious injuries. It lived during only the final 2 million years of the age of non-avian dinosaurs. Then, 66 million years ago, it disappeared during one of the largest mass extinction events in Earth's history. This is the scientific story of Tyrannosaurus rex, where it came from, how it lived, what it hunted, and why it vanished. The name Tyrannosaurus rex combines Greek and Latin words. Tyrannosaurus means tyrant lizard. The Latin word rex means king. The complete name is usually translated as King of the Tyrant Lizards. The animal was formally named in 1905 by Henry Fairfield Osborn, a paleontologist and president of the American Museum of Natural History in New York. The fossils used in its early scientific description had been collected in the western United States. One important skeleton was discovered in Montana in 1902 by fossil hunter Barnum Brown. Brown found enormous bones projecting from rock in the Hell Creek Formation. Excavating them required several years of difficult work. The fossils were covered in protective plaster, transported from the field, and studied at the American Museum of Natural History. The first reconstructions showed T-Rex standing nearly upright, with its tail resting on the ground. That pose remained common in museums, books, and films for decades. Scientists later recognized that this reconstruction was incorrect. T-Rex normally held its body approximately parallel to the ground. Its head and chest extended forward, while its long, heavy tail extended behind it as a counterbalance. This horizontal posture placed the animal's center of mass over its powerful hind legs. Modern skeletons are mounted in this more accurate position. The change demonstrates an important part of paleontology. Scientific reconstructions are revised when better evidence becomes available. Tyrannosaurus rex lived near the end of the Late Cretaceous period, approximately 68 to 66 million years ago. It did not live during the Jurassic period. Dinosaurs such as Stegosaurus and Allosaurus lived tens of millions of years before T-Rex appeared. Confirmed T-Rex fossils come from Western North America. They have been found in places including Montana, Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. During the Late Cretaceous, North America was very different from the continent we know today. For much of the Cretaceous period, a large body of water called the Western Interior Seaway divided North America into eastern and western landmasses. The western landmass is called Laramida. By the time T-Rex lived, the seaway was shrinking. Large coastal plains, river systems, forests, swamps, and floodplains covered much of the region. The climate was warmer than it is today. There were no permanent polar ice sheets like the modern ones, and sea levels were generally higher. The Hell Creek environment of Montana and the Dakotas was warm, humid, and crossed by rivers. It contained flowering trees, conifers, ferns, and other plants. This vegetation supported large populations of plant-eating dinosaurs. One of the most common was Edmontosaurus, a large duck-billed dinosaur that could grow approximately as long as an adult T-Rex. Herds of Edmontosaurus moved through the floodplains and fed on vegetation. There was also Triceratops, a heavy four-legged herbivore with 3 horns and a large bony frill. Other dinosaurs included Ankylosaurus, Pachycephalosaurus, Thescelosaurus, and several smaller species. Turtles, crocodile relatives, fish, lizards, amphibians, mammals, birds, and pterosaurs also lived in this environment. T-Rex was one part of this complex ecosystem, but as an adult, it was almost certainly its dominant terrestrial predator. T-Rex was not the first tyrannosaur. The earliest members of the broader tyrannosaur group appeared more than 100 million years before T-Rex. Many early tyrannosauroids were relatively small, lightly built predators. Over time, certain tyrannosaur lineages developed larger skulls, stronger jaws, and more powerful bodies. Later members included animals such as Albertosaurus, Gorgosaurus, Daspletosaurus, and Tarbosaurus. Tarbosaurus lived in Asia and was closely related to T-Rex. It had a similar basic body structure, although there were differences in the skull and skeleton. The ancestors of tyrannosaurs probably moved between Asia and North America at different points during the Cretaceous, when land connections existed between the continents. By the time T-Rex appeared, the basic tyrannosaur body plan had reached an extreme form. The head had become enormous, the jaws were deep and powerful, the teeth were thick, the neck muscles were strong, and the body was supported by massive hind limbs. At the same time, the forelimbs had become very short. This combination made T-Rex different from many earlier giant meat-eating dinosaurs. Animals such as Allosaurus had longer arms and narrower skulls. Their teeth were relatively thin and adapted mainly for cutting flesh. T-Rex had a much broader skull and teeth capable of resisting forces that would have damaged the teeth of many other predators. It was built to bite deeply and withstand contact with bone. Two of the most famous specimens are known as Sue and Scotty. Sue was discovered in South Dakota in 1990 by fossil hunter Sue Hendrickson. The skeleton is housed at the Field Museum in Chicago. Sue measures about 12.3 meters or 40.5 feet in length. It is the most complete adult T-Rex skeleton known, with roughly 250 of an estimated 380 bones represented. By bone volume, the skeleton is approximately 90% complete. Scotty was discovered in Saskatchewan, Canada. Its skeleton is less complete than Sue's, but measurements of the surviving bones indicate that Scotty was exceptionally large and heavily built. Depending on the reconstruction method, Scotty may have weighed close to 9 metric tons. Scientists cannot say with certainty whether Sue or Scotty was the largest T-Rex that ever lived. They are simply among the largest individuals discovered so far. A species can exist for millions of years while leaving behind only a very small sample of its total population. There were probably individuals larger than any skeleton presently known. However, extremely high estimates should be treated carefully. Without the fossils, claims of 15-meter or 15-ton T-Rex individuals remain speculative. The best evidence shows that large adults regularly exceeded 11 meters and that exceptional individuals approached or slightly exceeded 12.5 meters. The skull was the main feeding weapon of T-Rex. A large skull could measure more than 1.5 meters from the front of the snout to the back of the head. Despite its size, the skull was not a solid block of bone. It contained large openings that reduced its weight. Internal air spaces also helped make the head lighter without removing the strength needed for biting. The bones of the skull were reinforced and tightly connected. This helped the skull resist twisting and bending when the animal bit into struggling prey. T-Rex had approximately 50 to 60 teeth, depending on the individual and the position of replacement teeth. The teeth were not all identical. Teeth near the front of the mouth had a cross-section shaped somewhat like the letter D. They were strong and suited for pulling flesh from bone. The larger side teeth were thick, curved and serrated. Including the root, the largest could approach 30 centimeters in total length. Only part of that length projected above the gum. The teeth were replaced throughout the animal's life. New teeth grew inside the jaw and moved into position when older teeth were lost or damaged. The common image of T-Rex shows its teeth permanently exposed, similar to those of a crocodile. A 2023 study argued that large theropod dinosaurs probably had scaly lips covering their teeth when the mouth was closed. The researchers compared tooth wear and skull anatomy in dinosaurs with those of living reptiles. Under this reconstruction, a resting T-Rex would not display all of its teeth. The lips were probably not flexible like human lips, but they could have covered and protected the teeth. This interpretation has received significant scientific support, although the exact appearance of the mouth remains under investigation. T-Rex produced one of the most powerful bites known in any land animal. Biomechanical studies have produced different estimates because no one can directly measure the muscles of an extinct dinosaur. One study estimated sustained forces of approximately 35,000 to 57,000 newtons at a single rear tooth. Another widely discussed reconstruction calculated a total bite force of around 35,000 newtons, equivalent to roughly 8,000 pounds of force. The exact number depends on the size of the individual and the model being used. The important point is that the combination of bite force and tooth shape allowed T-Rex to break large bones. Its teeth concentrated the force of the jaws onto relatively small areas. Thick enamel and reinforced roots reduced the chance that the teeth would fail when they struck bone. Fossilized droppings attributed to large tyrannosaurs contain fragments of pulverized bone. Other fossils preserve bones that were cracked, punctured, or deeply scored by tyrannosaur teeth. Eating bone gave T-Rex access to marrow, minerals, and other nutrients that many predators could not obtain. This does not mean it swallowed every part of a carcass. Very large or difficult pieces could have been left behind, but its skull allowed it to process more of an animal than predators with narrower jaws and thinner teeth. For many years, scientists and the public debated whether T-Rex was an active hunter or only a scavenger. The fossil evidence shows that it was capable of both. One of the clearest examples comes from the tail of a duck-billed dinosaur. A broken T-Rex tooth was found embedded in one of the animal's vertebrae. Bone had healed around the tooth. This means the duck-billed dinosaur was alive when it was bitten and survived long enough for the injury to begin healing. The bite could not have been made while T-Rex was feeding on an animal that was already dead. It is direct evidence of an unsuccessful attack on living prey. Other fossils preserve tyrannosaur bite marks on Triceratops and Edmontosaurus bones. Some marks were made during feeding, while others may record attacks. T-Rex had the body, senses, and weapons required to hunt, but it would not have ignored a carcass. Almost all large modern predators scavenge when given the opportunity. Lions steal carcasses, wolves consume animals they did not kill, bears, crocodiles, and predatory birds do the same. Hunting a large animal involves effort and the possibility of injury. Eating an animal that is already dead is much safer. An adult T-Rex probably moved through its environment searching for both living prey and carcasses. Its excellent sense of smell would have helped it locate either one. No fossil can preserve an entire hunt, so the details must be reconstructed from anatomy, injuries, and comparisons with living animals. T-Rex probably targeted large herbivores such as Edmontosaurus and Triceratops. Juveniles would have hunted smaller animals and may have used different strategies. An attack on an adult Triceratops would have been dangerous. The horns could inflict serious injuries, and the animal's heavy body made it difficult to overpower. An adult Edmontosaurus was also large and had powerful hind limbs. It could move quickly and possibly defend itself with kicks or blows from its tail. T-Rex did not need to outrun every healthy adult. It could target young, injured, sick, or isolated animals. Its forward-facing eyes provided overlapping fields of vision. This gave it binocular vision and allowed it to judge distance during an approach or attack. Once it came close enough, the jaws were its main weapon. A deep bite could damage muscle, fracture bone, or remove a large section of flesh. Even if the prey escaped temporarily, blood loss and injury could weaken it. The strong neck would help T-Rex pull backward or move its head while holding tissue in its jaws. There is no strong evidence that it used elaborate techniques shown in films. There is also no direct proof that it regularly hunted in organized packs. Some fossils suggest that tyrannosaurs occasionally gathered together, but those sites involve other tyrannosaur species or have uncertain explanations. Several animals found in one place may have lived together, gathered around food, or died separately at the same location. T-Rex may sometimes have tolerated or cooperated with others, but coordinated pack hunting has not been demonstrated. The brain of T-Rex was small compared with its body, but brain size alone does not determine an animal's abilities. CT scans of tyrannosaur skulls have allowed scientists to reconstruct the spaces once occupied by the brain and sensory organs. One of the clearest features is the large size of the olfactory bulbs, the parts of the brain involved in processing smell. T-Rex probably had a highly developed sense of smell. It could use scent to find prey, locate carcasses, recognize other tyrannosaurs, and gather information about its surroundings. Its eyes faced partly forward, producing a significant area of binocular vision. This is useful for estimating distance. Research on the structure of the inner ear indicates that T-Rex was also sensitive to relatively low-frequency sounds. The jaws and face contained openings for numerous nerves and blood vessels. The snout may have been sensitive to touch, much like the faces of modern crocodilians and birds. These senses created a detailed picture of the environment. A T-Rex did not depend only on movement. The popular idea that it could not see an animal that remained still is incorrect. It could see, smell, and hear potential prey. The skin of T-Rex is not completely known because soft tissues rarely fossilize. Several specimens preserve small patches of skin impressions from areas including the neck, hip, and tail. These impressions show small scales. They provide direct evidence that substantial parts of the animal were scaly. Earlier relatives of T-Rex had simple filament-like feathers. One large tyrannosauroid from China, Utyrannus, had a covering of feathers despite its considerable size. This raises the possibility that T-Rex inherited the ability to grow feather-like structures. However, no fossil currently proves that an adult T-Rex had a full coat of feathers. The available skin impressions suggest that large adults were mainly scaly over the preserved regions. Sparse feathers could have existed on parts of the body where skin impressions are missing. Young animals may have had more feather-like insulation, but that remains uncertain. A large adult generated and retained heat more easily than a small juvenile. A thick covering of insulation might have created a risk of overheating in a warm environment. The most scientifically careful reconstruction gives an adult T-Rex mainly scaly skin, while allowing for the possibility of limited feathering. Its color is completely unknown. It may have had patterns for camouflage, display, or identification, but fossil bones and skin impressions do not preserve reliable evidence of the original colors. One of the most recognizable features of T-Rex was its pair of short forelimbs. Each hand had two main fingers with claws. A tiny remnant of a third finger may also have been present inside the tissue. The arms were short compared with the rest of the body, but they were not weak. The bones were thick, and muscle attachment points indicate that the arms could produce considerable force. The elbows and shoulders had a limited range of movement, meaning the arms could not reach far forward or rotate like human arms. Their function remains uncertain. They may have helped the animal hold a mate, stabilize its body while rising, grip prey at very close range, or perform another behavior that left no fossil evidence. It is also possible that they were reduced evolutionary remnants with only a minor role. The arms did not need to capture prey because the skull had taken over most of the work. As tyrannosaur heads became larger and more powerful, long forelimbs may have become less useful. Short arms could also remain safely away from the jaws when several tyrannosaurs fed from the same carcass. None of these explanations has been proven. What is clear is that the arms were not used like the grasping forelimbs of earlier predators. Films often show T-Rex running at the speed of a car. Biomechanical studies suggest a slower animal. The legs were large and muscular, but an adult also carried several tons of body mass. Running at extreme speed would have placed enormous forces on the bones, joints, and muscles. Estimates of its maximum speed vary considerably. Some studies suggest that a large adult may have been limited to approximately 18 kilometers per hour. Others produce estimates closer to 25 or 30 kilometers per hour. A 2026 analysis of the foot proposed that T-Rex used bird-like foot mechanics that could support shorter, more frequent strides and somewhat higher speeds than some earlier models suggested. There is still no agreement on one exact maximum. The safest conclusion is that an adult T-Rex was not built for extremely fast, sustained running. It was probably an efficient walker and could move rapidly for short periods. One study estimated a preferred walking speed of approximately 4.6 kilometers per hour, similar to the ordinary walking speed of a human. Young tyrannosaurs were more lightly built. Their lower legs were proportionally longer, and they were probably faster and more agile than heavy adults. Speed also needs to be compared with the prey. An adult T-Rex did not have to outrun a modern horse or a vehicle. It only needed to catch animals living in the same environment, many of which were also very large. Balance and turning ability may have been as important as straight-line speed. The long tail stabilized the body, while strong leg muscles allowed the animal to change direction during close encounters. For many years, scientists believed that T-Rex grew extremely quickly during its teenage years and reached nearly full size at around 20 years of age. That conclusion was based on growth marks inside fossilized bones. Like the bones of many living animals, dinosaur bones can preserve lines associated with periods of slower growth. By studying these marks, paleontologists can estimate an individual's age and growth rate. Earlier research suggested that teenage T-Rex individuals could gain hundreds of kilograms each year. Sue was once estimated to have reached adult size at around 19 or 20 years of age. Research published in 2026 produced a different interpretation. Scientists examined sections of leg bones from 17 tyrannosaur specimens using polarized light. They identified additional growth marks that were difficult to see with older methods. Their most strongly supported model suggested that growth was more gradual and that maximum size might not have been reached until approximately 35 to 40 years of age. This result remains part of an active scientific discussion. The debate has become more complicated because several smaller fossils once classified as juvenile T-Rex may belong to a separate genus called Nanotyrannus. Research published in 2025 concluded that Nanotyrannus was a distinct, smaller tyrannosaur living alongside T-Rex. If that interpretation is correct, some specimens previously used to reconstruct T-Rex growth must be removed from the dataset. The exact growth curve may continue to change as fossils are reclassified and new specimens are studied. Scientists can still say that T-Rex underwent a major transformation during its life. Young individuals were relatively slender, with lighter skulls and proportionally longer legs. Adults developed deeper skulls, thicker teeth, and much heavier bodies. A juvenile and an adult probably hunted different prey. This allowed different ages of the same species to occupy different ecological roles. Instead of competing directly for every meal, young animals could hunt smaller, faster prey, while adults concentrated on the largest herbivores. No egg has been conclusively identified as a T-Rex egg. No confirmed T-Rex nest has been found, and scientists do not know how many eggs a female laid or how long the parents cared for their young. Evidence from related dinosaurs suggests that T-Rex reproduced by laying eggs, like all known dinosaurs. One famous specimen called B-Rex contains a special type of tissue that has been interpreted as medullary bone. In living birds, females form medullary bone as a temporary calcium reserve before laying eggs. If the interpretation is correct, B-Rex was a reproductively active female when it died. Newly hatched tyrannosaurs would have been small compared with adults. They faced threats from crocodile relatives, other predatory dinosaurs, and possibly adult tyrannosaurs. Whether the parents guarded nests or supplied food is unknown. Modern birds, which are living dinosaurs, display extensive parental care. Crocodilians also protect their nests and young. It is therefore possible that T-Rex provided some form of care, but there is no direct fossil evidence establishing its behavior. Life was dangerous even for an adult T-Rex. Many skeletons preserve signs of injury or disease. Sue had healed ribs, damage to the shoulder region, arthritis in the tail, and holes in the lower jaw. The cause of the jaw holes remains debated. They may have resulted from injury, infection, or another disease process. The fact that many injuries healed means Sue survived them for months or years. Other tyrannosaur skulls preserve scars and punctures that match the teeth of other tyrannosaurs. These marks suggest face biting between members of the same species or closely related species. The animals may have fought over territory, food, or mates. Cannibalism is also possible. Tyrannosaur bones have been found with bite marks produced by other large tyrannosaurs. An adult could dominate most animals in its environment, but it was not invulnerable. A broken leg, damaged jaw, or serious infection could prevent it from hunting. An attack on a horned Triceratops could result in fatal injuries. Periods of drought, flooding, or food shortage could also reduce its chances of survival. The fossil record preserves successful predators, but every individual eventually died. T-Rex lived until the end of the Cretaceous period. Approximately 66 million years ago, an asteroid about 10 to 15 kilometers wide struck Earth near what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The impact formed the Chicxulub crater, which is roughly 180 kilometers across. The immediate effects included earthquakes, extreme heat, wildfires, powerful atmospheric disturbances, and enormous waves around nearby coastlines. Material blasted from the impact site traveled through the atmosphere and returned to Earth. Dust, soot, and sulfur-rich particles spread around the planet. Sunlight reaching the surface decreased. Photosynthesis slowed or stopped in many environments. Plants and plankton died. Animals that depended on them lost their food. Large plant-eating dinosaurs required enormous quantities of vegetation. As their populations collapsed, large predators lost their prey. T-Rex was particularly vulnerable. An 8-ton carnivore required a large amount of food and could not survive for long after the food web failed. Some individuals may have survived the initial impact and its immediate effects. But surviving the first day was not enough. The following months and years brought darkness, cooling, disrupted rainfall, and widespread shortages. Every non-avian dinosaur species eventually disappeared. T-Rex vanished along with Triceratops, Edmontosaurus, Ankylosaurus, and many other animals. Birds survived because some species were small, reproduced relatively quickly, and could eat seeds, insects, or other resources that remained available. Birds are therefore the only dinosaurs still alive today. Tyrannosaurus rex has been extinct for 66 million years, but it remains the most recognizable dinosaur in the world. Its popularity sometimes makes it difficult to separate evidence from entertainment. It probably did not run at highway speed. There is no evidence that it could only see moving objects. Its teeth may have been covered when its mouth was closed. Large adults were probably mainly scaly rather than covered in a thick coat of feathers. It was not only a scavenger, and it was not an unstoppable animal that won every encounter. The real T-Rex was a highly specialized predator adapted to the final ecosystems of Cretaceous North America. It had a massive skull, reinforced teeth, a bone-crushing bite, and some of the most developed senses among large predatory dinosaurs. It hunted living animals and consumed dead ones. It survived injuries, competed with other predators, and changed dramatically as it grew. Its enormous body was the result of more than 100 million years of tyrannosaur evolution. Then, after existing for roughly 2 million years, Tyrannosaurus rex disappeared in the global disaster that ended the age of the non-avian dinosaurs. What remains is an incomplete record made of fossilized bones, teeth, footprints, bite marks, and traces of damaged tissue. Each discovery adds another piece to the animal's history. Some questions may be answered by future fossils, others may never be solved. But the evidence already shows why Tyrannosaurus rex deserves its reputation. It was not the largest carnivorous dinosaur ever measured by length, and it was not the fastest predator of its time. It was one of the heaviest land predators ever known, equipped with an extraordinary skull, extremely powerful jaws, and the ability to break apart the bones of animals as large as itself. For the final 2 million years before the asteroid impact, Tyrannosaurus rex occupied the highest level of one of Earth's last dinosaur-dominated ecosystems. That is the real story of the king of the tyrant lizards.